Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Tech Talk Friday, your Friday digest of tech, brought to you by Necole. So I hope you guys are safely at home right now, seated and ready to enjoy the show. Remember, you're part of the show as well. So if you're watching us from wherever you're watching us, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, make sure if you've got some thoughts you want to share with us, leave it down in the comments area. If you've got a question for our guests later on, leave it down in the comments area. If you've got the chance, we will pull it up. All right, we will try because sometimes we get quite a bit and we want to go through the conversation. If we don't get to, then what we will do is we will try to answer those questions after the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, this show is brought to you by Necole, the learning experience platform that has been made available for all you learners out there. If you want a skill, if you want to learn in a community, or you want to start creating your own knowledge bank for others to learn from, make sure you check out Necole today and go on to Necole.app and get your subscription for Necole today. I'll tell you a little bit more for companies out there how you can engage with Necole. And we've got a promo code for you that is going down on the scroll at the bottom, Make a Shift. So go over to Necole.app, use Make a Shift and get 5% discount. All right. So that is what Necole's about. And this show actually is not the only thing Necole brings to you, because Necole's all about learning and development, learning and giving you the opportunity to develop yourself. So pick of the week. Usually we do have a pick of the week from Necole itself, but this week's pick of the week is going to be a little different because we're doing something really special for all of y'all out there next week, especially all you HR practitioners out there next week. So next week is going to be an event week. It's going to be a week where we talk about setting priorities for 2022. So there you go. So from between 16th to 18th of November, a combination of live streamed shows and also podcasts. We're going to have a full week of this where we try to help you understand how can you set priorities for your people when it comes to your strategies for 2022. What are the right moves? What are the right tools? What are the right technology pieces that you can actually implement or bring into your company so that you are all set to reach success for your 2022 goals. So we're going to have a few guests during the show. I'm going to be hosting some of the shows. Some other people are hosting some of the shows, but we're going to have first, of course, Roshan Theran from Leaderonomics, the guru himself. He's going to actually walk you through first some key areas over the entire employee spectrum or the company organization strategy spectrum as well, on what you can do to get it right for 2022. And then we're going to have Ori Gold coming in as well. We're going to talk a little bit about inclusion and engagement. I'm going to have a conversation with John Tanner from Mitchell Lake about learning and development in this digital age. So if you want to join the show, register now. The QR code is there. We've got the tiny URL for you as well, or just go over to LinkedIn or Facebook and find Necole. You'll find the event page, register yourself and join those shows. And we hope to definitely see you there next week. All right, so that's the pick of the week. Now on to the show today. Today is actually going to be quite a conversation, and it seems like we're going on a theme, and maybe we'll make this the theme for Tech Talk Friday anyways, because the last time we were on the show, we had one who was the solution provider and also the customer on the show as well, the client on the show as well. This week, it seems like it's going to be the same thing again, but it is actually something that Necole itself has formed a partnership with a key professional association in this country. So let me bring on, we're going to have them both together at the same time, our two guests for this evening. So first up, we have Shalini Pavithran, who is the CEO of the Malaysian Insurance Institute and the ASEAN Insurance Training and Research Institute. And I'm going to read out the rest as well, Shalini, because it seems like you got all this, which is really cool. Change igniter, education innovator, growth advocate, and peer community builder. Ladies and gentlemen, Shalini.
Oh my God, I'm quite embarrassed. Thank you, Nigesh. Yeah, that was a mouthful. Yes, thank you. Welcome. Yes, it's great to have you on.
All right, great. Now let's bring on the next guest who's going to join Shalini in this conversation. We have Sashe Kanapathi, who is the COO of Leaderonomics Digital. Hey, Sashe.
Hello again. Hi, Shalini.
Do you have a mouthful? No.
No, I can't follow
Damn it.
that.
Why?
Yeah, that nobody can follow that.
He's too shy on social media. He doesn't
Yeah,
want to
that's
put up all
right.
Yes,
these
I think
these
so.
things.
Yeah.
But if I were to want to list down, I think that list will be long as well. So
Yes,
modest
I
man,
think so
modest man.
too.
All right. So let's get into this conversation, and if for our audience as well, if you saw the title of the show, it's co-creation of an inclusive ecosystem. So we're gonna explore that a little bit. But first, let's start at the ground level basics. And perhaps, Shalini, this is going to be the question to you for our viewers. Maybe some in the know, some not in the know, some assuming maybe. But could you give us a little brief on what MII is about and what the vision and mission when it comes to the insurance industry at large?
All right. Okay. It's the MI is many things. We wear many hats in the Malaysian Insurance Institute. It's a professional body for the insurance industry. It's an education institute. We cover professional qualifications, certifications, training, everything works, right? And we have about 30,000 members around that for as the professional body for the industry, and it's the largest professional body for insurance in the region. We provide full spectrum, right? Whether it's insurance, technical, non-technical, the whole range. And we are also the examination facilitator for the industry, which means we run all the licensing exams, every different kind of exams that you can imagine, whether for local as well as international awarding bodies. So that means we cover the full spectrum, exams for life, general, brokers, loss adjusters, the full range. We do about 70,000 people take our exams in a year.
Wow.
In total, we serve about 140, 150,000 insurance professionals in a year. So
Wow.
we're also, as you mentioned, Secretariat for the ASEAN Insurance Training and Research Institute. Yes, a mouthful. And so what MII is for the industry, A3, that's the acronym, is for the regulators. So we take care of capacity building for the insurance regulators in the region, whereas MII takes care of capacity building of the industry professionals. So we
Right.
cover both spectrums, so regulator as well as the industry. Yeah.
So I can see why you are kept busy most of the time,
Very,
because
very.
those are big numbers that you just threw out over there. 70,000, 50,000, 140,000. That's a lot of industry professionals or engagements with industry professionals that you got to handle. Really, really, it's
That's
off to
correct.
you. It's off to you.
That's
I think
correct.
the accolades when sorry, you were saying?
I think you asked about what's the vision
Yeah.
as well. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we also look at, I think the goal at, right now is about how do we accelerate modernization and innovation of the industry? How do we build future-ready talent? How do we raise professional standards? How do we develop the practice of insurance to be in line with global standards? So I think
Right.
that's a key theme for us that we're working on. And of course, we
Right.
want to be, global domination is our goal, but we'll settle for being regional leader and really owning that space so that I can really, say it proudly. Yes. Yeah. So that's where we are. That's what we do.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I think we'll explore a little bit on some of those initiatives in a while, but let's start with this one, right? That you already said it. There's a huge amount of active collaboration, and you have several stakeholders as well, such as the Institute of Fire Engineers UK and Malaysia branch and Fire Protection Association of Malaysia Berhad, and also to launch the first of its kind fire risk assessors FRA accreditation program in the region. Can you tell us a bit more about this FRA program?
Okay, I'm a big believer in the power of community. So what we did, I think, in 2019 is we started looking at how do we form communities of practice. And one of the communities of practice that we set up was the community of practice around risk and engineering. Risk is, everything about insurance is about risk management, right? It's a risk management tool. So the risk and engineering community of practice, the FRA is a brainchild of that community, and the idea was, the idea of the community of practice is how do you come together, how do you collaborate, connect, learn, and share, and learn from each other, and co-create knowledge that you can put into action in your organization, or co-create solutions that work to address the issues or the gaps that you see. And so that's what happened. The community came together. They said there's a real need to raise the competency of risk engineers. And there are many in the industry that look after this particular area: risk engineers, fire surveyors, fire assessors, fire auditors in the industry. So the idea was, how do we raise their competency, or build their competency so that they can conduct a professional risk assessment, and as well as to be able to produce comprehensive risk assessment report highlighting the risk of assets that is under review. And these risk reports are the ones that the folks in the insurance companies or the underwriters will look at and say, okay, yes, I want to insure, I want to take on this risk or not. So the quality of that report really matters, right? So that's why when we came together, and we said, okay, so when the Fire Protection Association came up to us, and then the community, we said, let's do this. So that's when we worked with the IFEM, the Institution of Fire Engineers UK, the Malaysian branch, and we developed this program together. So they have the syllabus. We look at how do we now customize this to insurance, and it's the first of its kind that we're going to be launching. And people, the participants who complete the course will be recognized as qualified fire risk assessors and will be listed in the Institution of Fire Engineers UK Malaysia branch as a registrant of FRA. So that's a big deal, and it's recognized. And again, it's always about how do we provide industry professionals with the necessary skills to be able to do their role properly, and to be able to do it well. And that was the whole aim of this qualification. Yeah.
Right. And while you were saying that, of course, that whole work putting behind getting all that ready, it sounds like a very long process that finally came to great fruition right now. But I'm going to hold on to a term that you mentioned, which is communities of practice. I think that's an awesome way to say things. Communities of practice. So I'm going to hold on to that. I hope you don't mind. And next, I want to ask you this. Apart from all these kind of education kind of thing, for learners about insurance, you guys also, MII also offers sales skills, management, and leadership techniques for the industry professionals and industry practitioners. So can you tell us a bit more, perhaps, about the kind of attributes, the kind of indicators or traits that you're looking for, you're hoping to build, or the kind of quality you're hoping to build in the insurance industry professionals?
Okay. Of course, being competent, you must know your role. You must understand what the whole space is about. And the ability to connect the dots, I think, is very important. The appreciation of risk. You must be a storyteller. You must understand data. I think people, I have this conversation with Charla, from CADS often. And, people think, oh, understanding data is for, a select group of people. No, I think she's very right when she says that people with domain knowledge, that means every one of us in our roles, if we know the power of data and how we can turn data into insights and insights into action, I think is the best thing. And having data literate professionals is something that we are very passionate about. I think that's it's a power on its own, and being updated in market trends, understanding what's happening, because that will tell you whether it's happening. Do I want to take on that risk, or in different ways that you would use that. Again, you can't run away from this. Whether whatever industry that you're on, focused on the customer, be obsessed about the customer's needs, providing quality service, ethics, being trustworthy. I think in financial services, I think that ethics part, is so important, and the professionalism. So all this comes in, but again, we cannot forget, I think if you look at the WEF report that talks about the importance of, the top 10 skills about critical thinking, analytical thinking. I think we cannot forget all those important skills as well that become really relevant. So for us, we cover the full thing, right? The whole 9 yards. Okay, whether it's technical, non-technical, future skills, soft skills, essentials, whatever you want to call it. We want to make sure that we build a holistic industry professional that can really serve and do well and succeed, both for the organization as well as for themselves. Yeah.
Right. So it's I guess the dream of building a super competent, super able insurance industry with the practitioners in there as well. And I think one of the steps you were kind of taking, and this is why we have Sashe here as well, is a new partnership that is coming out, which is a partnership between MII and your kind of want, or your kind of vision towards digitalization using technology. So partnering with Necole, the learning experience platform. So since Sashe is here, and I'm going to start grilling Sashe a little bit. So I guess there were conversations between you and Shalini as it went on. And I guess that was the opportunities to kind of understand how, or what were the potentials with MII. So what were the challenges that you noticed before developing the solution that is going to go towards MII via Necole? And how do you think that Necole is going to help overcome those challenges that you noticed?
Can I give a backstory before that, Shashi? I'm going to steal
Sure.
your thunder a little bit.
Go,
Please,
go.
please.
You
This
talked
is you.
about you like the community of practice, right? How I heard about Necole was actually when Roshan did our HR community of practice. So Roshan talked about Necole and what it can do about just-in-time learning and the power that the platform has. And he said, speak to Shashi. That's how we got in touch. And we did that. Roshan spoke to us in our community of practice session in February, and I think it was pretty fast. I think the agreement part was the one that you go a little bit back and forth, but I think whether or not Necole was right for us, I think it was pretty quick for us to make that decision.
Yeah, so that's actually, that leads on to what I was going to say. I don't know that it was very difficult because I think, to Shalini's credit, to MI's credit, it's very important to have an organization who says, I want to build a holistic community, right? And to have that vision to say, listen, I'm not only interested in my functional skills, I actually want to provide them access to knowledge so that they can self-study some more. And I want to build this community up to be very holistic. I want to give them more than what they've signed up for, right? So when you've got someone or an organization that has that kind of thought process, then to design something becomes easy, right? As partners or as vendors, right? It becomes very easy. So we first started off saying, okay, who are these target audience that you're looking for and what do they need? And as good thing for us is that we do have a wide library of content that we can pull from. And so being able to give that to them. And let me tell you, I mean, they were even interested in things like technology, right? So you would never think that you're trying to upskill insurance agents on IoT and, RPA and artificial intelligence. But that's the kind of vision that I think I saw when I was speaking to Shalini and MII about really holistic. I'm not even only talking about sales skills, right? I'm talking about really holistic. And then also giving them access to self-study. So that was the first part. I think that part was easier. We just had to craft and curate the content. Then came the second part, which was how do we then also do the LMS portion, which is the learning management portion. So not only giving them the community learning, self-learning, but then the directed learning that leads up to certification and credits. I think that was the harder part to kind of meld in. But then we found a way to do both, and then we're going to continue to iterate to get it right.
You're right. Right. And as you mentioned, Roshan, so our producer, who's also named Shashi, could you just bring up Roshan's comments? There you go. He's actually watching the show. So he's saying, good to know. And as he also has one more comment that MI and Shalini has a great vision, amazing leadership to see the future and build it endorsement there. And also Eva thanking Roshan for the connecting the dots. So what you just mentioned,
Yes.
Shalini. Connecting the dots. So Shalini, I know I'm pulling away from that conversation about Necole for a while, but it really sounds like you've got a lot of initiatives, key initiatives that you're doing right now with MII. We touched on a few already. So maybe let's explore that a little bit more. What are other key initiatives that you got at the moment to help the insurance business, its practitioners transform and in the current digitalized era and changing customer experience needs? So what kind of initiatives that do you have going that you can reveal?
We've got so many things happening. I think there's not enough hours in the day, but I guess working from home helps a little bit because sometimes it's like you don't know whether you're working or you're taking a break. But I think very much. MI is not a young organization. We have a 52-year-old history. But I think one thing that we recognize that makes us very different, I guess, from the institutions is that our fates are intertwined with the industry because all the industry body chairmen sit on our board, the regulator sits on our board. So we understand, right? The industry succeeds, we succeed. And we want to make sure that we understand whatever that's happening to the industry, how can we support? And I think looking at the change, and I think it's not just insurance. I think across the globe, especially last year, we saw transformation just get accelerated. We saw technology coming front and center, and reskilling and upskilling became so important, and providing industry professionals with the skills to be able to work with technology, because now you can't avoid it, right? Technology is here to stay, but it is changing every facet of insurance in every different way. So how do you now equip people with the knowledge of how do I work with technology? How do I work with data? It's a lot of things. That's a lot to stomach, and I think there's a lot of apprehension I know when we run, I think 100 over webinars a year, and we see those questions. What's going to happen to my job? Is it still going to be there? Is the technology going to is a robot going to take over my job? I think what we are clear is that roles are changing, and that's one of the things. Going to the next initiative, besides like working with Sashe and Necole, in terms of how do we now start to add our programs shouldn't just consist of technical knowledge, but future skills, digital technology awareness, self-leadership, leadership. How do I manage people? Managing people face to face was one thing. Managing people like this is a whole different ball game. That's a different skill set that nobody trains you for. So how do we now provide people with that? And the appreciation for data, I think we talked about that. So all these things came in, and we had to really look at ourselves. What do we have? And as I mentioned, we are huge believers of collaboration. This being one, but we have so many collaborations in place, in terms of helping the industry to really scale themselves to be able to accelerate their own transformation. How we can do that well. So we have, for example, collaboration with the Center of Applied Data Science on data, data-related skills. We are working with them currently on a very important initiative, which is an industry-wide data maturity assessment, which it's new. I don't think it's been. I don't think it's been done industry-wide, and that's something really new because we want to be able to assess where every organization in the industry is in that whole drive to become a data-driven organization. And looking at the 6 pillars, where they are, you identify the gap and you fix that, you address. So you know where to spend your time, your money, your resource. That makes sense, right? You follow the data and you take the necessary action. So that's one where right now, next week, we've got a partnership with Fort Ninja, nice name. They run the eFintech school. So we've partnered with them, have seats for insurance professionals to be able to go in. Again, appreciation for fintech, insurtech, and everything digital. And that's part of our innovation in insurance series, where we're doing roundtables with C-suite, roundtable with middle management, and then a webinar, then all those insights together with a survey going out to the industry, going to a white paper, and then a technical hackathon that goes out in Q1. And on top of that, we're looking at what we've started out is a skills hub. I think working with, again, the Center of Applied Data Science. I think Shah must be coughing somewhere because I keep saying her name. But they do really great work. And so we partnered with them on creating a skills hub, because for us, that's the first piece. How do we assess ourselves in terms of the digital and data skills? You look at where you are today, where you want to be, look at the gap, and it recommends to you the courses that you need to plug the gap. And so for going back into what we've got in terms of the Necole platform. So when we brought Necole on for our cohorts in June and October for the professional qualification, what we made them do first was undergo that skills assessment. So go through that skills assessment, and then you get the technical program, and then through Necole, you get recommendations of the different programs in addition to the technical program. So a lot of stuff happening. It's not the end of it. There's many more in the pipeline. Yes, busy 2022 and onwards, right? Yes.
I believe this, that people like you don't need more time. You just need a time machine. You just need something to just stop time for a while for you to do all these things. But on that topic that you were mentioning just now, so is this there's this new show that you have right now. I kind of checked it out just now, the Discovering Insurance show. I think this is with Mr. Rohit Nambiar, the CEO of Tune Protect Group. So is that part of the initiative? And could you share with us what this show is about?
Yeah. So, I mean, Rohit is fantastic, right? Again, oh my God, I'm going to mention Roshan again, because Roshan did our insurance leadership forum, and Roshan and Rohit were on a panel together. Yeah. So we heard, so when we hear what Rohit talks about, he's very passionate about talent development. He's very passionate about attracting talent to the industry and how you work with multi-generational talent. And so when we wanted to kick off the Discovering Insurance campaign, the whole idea of it was, how do we lift the veil on insurance? Okay. If I think just now Shashi talked about insurance agent. Actually, he meant insurance professionals, because all of us think the industry is nothing but agents. They do fantastic work, but there's a lot of roles in the industry. You've got claim specialists, underwriting, actuaries, you got data analysts, data scientists, you've got adjusters, brokers. There's so many different roles within the industry, and whether it's in the insurance companies or in the other lines of business, reinsurance. I mean, it's such a multifaceted industry. I come from banking. I spent 20 years in banking, and we think banking is tough. But I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that insurance has got layers. It's got so many different. It's very complex. It's got all the intermediaries that make that even more complex. You're not just dealing with an insurance company. You've got all the different people that service that are within the ecosystem that you need to work with. So that's a lot. So and that impacts how insurance is perceived. So we're not one dimensional. It's multi. So how do we paint insurance in the correct light? So and how do we change the narrative around insurance, or provide the right perception? And so that's why we've got different industry leaders, young industry leaders, to come in to speak about their roles, really unique roles that they hold. And Rohit is one of the younger CEOs in the industry, so we thought who better to kick us off. And so that's why he came. He did as usual a fantastic job. In speaking to the audience. He speaks from the heart, and he's really passionate about this topic, and we are passionate about this topic as well. So it was a great match. Yes.
Right. I have to agree with you. I think even in this conversation right now, my knowledge of the insurance industry is skin deep only, because I only know as much as what is the insurance that I'm getting, and who is the person who I'm dealing with, right?
Exactly.
I don't know all the other things that go on. And even while you were speaking, I'm starting to hear all these different multi layers and all that.
Let me tell you, one thing, right? I think there's very few industries that can say that they apply every different kind of technology in an industry like insurance. We use drone technology for loss assessment. We use big data, deep tech, AI, you name it, RPA, every part of it. There's all the different layers of tech. Insurance uses it. Nobody talks about it. So if you want a career, and we sit on a whole bunch of data. So if you want a career in data, digital marketing, whatever it is, has a role for you in insurance, really. So yeah, that's a plug for the industry, for all the young people out there who are listening. Do join us.
Exactly.
There is a role. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So for those listening out there, if you're thinking, I want a job in a particular thing, go check out the insurance insurance industry itself. Like Shalini was mentioning, it's not just industry agents, it's not insurance agents, it's industry professionals. So it's a full-scale professional industry. So Shalini, I'm going to switch the conversation a little bit. You kind of mentioned this just now. These are some of the things you are doing, all these initiatives to educate people, all these different things to kind of meet the industry professionals where they are and to find out what they need. And this is kind of going to the changing learners' behaviors as well, adults as we grow up as well. So this is a question to Sashe. So we have changing behaviors in learners, or it may be a case, because I'm thinking back to when I joined the workforce, learning professionally is different from when you're learning in university, right? There's different methods which we use based on the time that we have. So this is where we choose to learn at the time when we need. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about this. Now it seems to become a buzzword, this whole thing about micro or bite-sized learning or learning on demand. That's how Shalini kind of found Necole through what Roshan was saying. What are all these concepts that are coming out, and how is Necole kind of built for that, and how has it evolved in this past 2 years, especially because of this pandemic?
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 types of learning, right, that I can think of, right? So one is you're going to learn because you have to, right? And that's because, for example, if you want to work in the insurance industry, you're going to have to get accredited. You're going to have, some sort of certification. You got to do an exam. By the way, Shalini, I don't know whether you know, but I did pass my insurance agent examination many years ago.
Congratulations.
Many years ago, right? So obviously it's expired, but
Okay.
So I've at least done something. But yeah, so you're going to learn because you're going to have to, right? You want to do something. You have to do it for your job, right? So that's one way you're going to learn. The other way you're going to learn is because you need to, because something comes up, right? And something comes up and suddenly we all Google, right? Google is the way of learning, right? You don't know something, you go Google it. You're learning something, right? Then the other thing is because of your interest. You have something I'm interested in. Maybe I'm interested in chess and I'm going to go learn. But the problem nowadays is with adult learning, right? You are competing for attention span with entertainment, social media, right? Who's going to pick up a learning app when I could pick up Netflix or I could pick up Instagram, right?
True.
So that's the real challenge. So I think more and more what we need is to direct learning through channels where people are already at. So for example, if you're already at work and you already have to do something at work, if I can give you learning while you're at work, that's going to be more effective, right? Or communities. So like if I have a community of insurance professionals who are already going through certain things and then I allow them to learn something more, that's going to be a lot easier to upskill and reskill them than saying, just motivating them that, hey, every day you got to go learn yourself, right? That's going to be really hard, right? As motivated and as disciplined you are, trust me, you're going to pick up Netflix or Instagram or something else, right? Other than, a book, for example, right? Some people will, but 95% of the people won't. So I think that's where communities become very important. Workplace learning becomes very important for adults. We got to bring learning to where they are. So that's why I really like partnering with institutions like MII, because that's such a strong community that's already formed, right? They have an interest, they have a professional need, they're together to achieve something. Now, how can we layer learning on top of that? Add a little bit more, I think society benefits when you do that. So that's how Nicole's built for communities.
Right. And on that note, actually, seeing or hearing what was going on during the setup of the MII community, the fellows and the associates, and it's actually surprising that MII also, because we tend to think that professional bodies, or when we think about professional body learning, it's going to be one of those long learnings kind of things. But MII, you guys are also offering bite-sized learning. So I think that's where that match really came through. A lot of bite-sized, curated learning, just there to aid, enhance the experience for whomever who's taking it for knowledge retention. So what are MII's challenges, especially when it comes to offering these kind of e-learnings? And how did you overcome those obstacles, especially the learner's mindset?
I don't think, I think it's a continuous process. I don't think you'll ever be able to find a solution to fix it. I think the one thing that we are committed towards is being focused on the learner's experience, moving away from that classroom where the trainer teaches you, but really being focused on the learner. So which is why the things that we made sure, and I think pandemic or what we were going through with the lockdown helped in a way to shift, because really people didn't like e-learning. I remember when I was in the bank and I had to take all my AML courses, right? It's all e-learning, right? Who likes doing that, right? You do that because it's compliance. But but now, so one of the things that we did even for our own team, because I cannot be a learning organization that doesn't believe in it. I got to practice what I preach, right? So that's why we set learning goals for our own team. So and we incentivize staff. We have quarterly leaderboards that we announce. So I do, like for me, I have to, you have to walk the talk, right? So I do about 150 hours a quarter. It's a lot.
Quarter.
A quarter, yes, it's
Wow.
150 hours. But again, right? You got to walk the talk. You want your people to do it. You've got to do it first, and model that, right? So and so we started to see. So one of the first things we did with the lockdown when it came in was we opened our entire e-learning library and gave it for free to our members. We say, here it is, go. And I think a lot of, I think we saw edX, we saw everything, LinkedIn. I think all that gave them free as well. So we did the same thing. We opened it up, and then we started to offer our webinars for free, because the idea is, and this came under our project that we call Learning Never Stops, because we believe while life seemed like it had stopped, learning shouldn't. Because if at any time, if there was a time that where really people needed to reskill or upskill, this was that time. And so that's why we made sure that we just pushed as much as we can. We worked with partners, our content, our partners' content, and really pushed that out. And one thing is, we have very insurance specific content, and trying to convert that into e-learning, it's really going to be dry. You talk about insurance law, you talk about all these, really it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's technical stuff, and it's heavy technical stuff. So what we are exploring right now is, how do we bring in AR? How do we bring in VR? VR is something that we're working with, with our partners in the US. Again, I think I think the community here is still a little bit hesitant. I think the science behind it is something that people want to see. So that's something that I think we will probably have to dive in first, and then probably show it, because I think there's a lot of opportunities for us in the VR space to really help the industry. But AR really can work for our e-learning, and that's something that we are exploring right now. And our content tends to be very textual, but again, the team, that's why we sent the team to go in for instructional design, work on mobile instructional design, a whole different way of looking at it, because we are thinking, okay, how do we lighten it so that you can put videos, you can make the content a lot more I guess palatable. With one hand you can scroll, learn really fast, bite size. And that's another thing that I think Isma and the e-learning team worked on, so that we can start to break that down. Because I think we did an academic review project. Again, we took advantage of where we are in. Let's do some reflection, and we launched that in January. And what we saw that people want to learn. Professional qualifications are 2-year, 3-year journey. Not everybody wants to go in for a long haul, learning journey. So we looked at it and we said, okay, let's start introducing micro credentials, and that's what we did. So we started with micro credentials. Okay, so yes, our professional qualifications like the associate program and the fellow program. The associate program is 14 subjects. So you do 6 subjects in level 1, and you do 8 subjects in level 2. It's 14 subjects. So you finish all 14, you get something. That's tough. So we looked at, okay, how do I now give you something every time you finish a subject? You finish a compulsory subject, you get something, and that's what we work towards, and we've got that approved, and that's going out. And then we looked at the subject itself. Maybe I don't want to take the whole insurance law, but one particular part of insurance law. Okay, I have a law degree, so that's why I keep mentioning law. It's a sort of like a passion of mine as well.
DNA.
And so if I want a specific part of law that I want to learn, so then I can do just that section, that chapter, and I can get a cert from that. So that's the micro learning bits that we've also introduced and the team has done. And so you say, hey, I can do this one chapter. Let me try second. So it builds confidence, right? So we're hoping that as you look at it, hey, I can do this subject. And suddenly you realize, hey, I finished one subject. Maybe I should do the second subject. And then lo and behold, you've actually gotten an associate qualification. Who knows? But the idea is, how do we motivate people to go on that learning journey and give them that support along the way? And that's what we've done. While we do recognize that, people appreciate face-to-face learning, I know on the ASEAN side, there's a lot that regulators learn when they come into a room and learn from each other. You are at different stages of development. So when one regulator is sharing, during the tea break, you ask questions that you may not ask in the class. So there is value to the face-to-face training, but then now how do we augment that, right? So I think that's what we're trying to look like. How do we find that middle ground of when you learn in class, when you self-learn, when you learn virtually, so what is that? So that's what we're exploring right now.
Yeah.
Right. And
Just to top up on that, Nigesh, if you don't mind. So I think blended is definitely, the way of the future. So we truly believe in that. But also one of the things that, I think we're trying to do with MII is try to make it easy for CPD hours. So that's another thing, right? So again, same thing with like micro-credentialing certification. So a lot of professionals find it difficult to sign up for CPD hours, to register, to even submit, right, proof of CPD hours. So by bringing the community to a platform, we can track that for them. And so that hopefully is another motivating factor to encourage them to say, hey, listen, if you do it here, we already record your CPD hours for you. So.
Yeah, I think it's all about reducing that barrier of entry or barrier of journey per se, because like both of y'all are saying, right? If you go and tell somebody that, okay, in order for you to be able to be qualified to do a particular thing, doesn't matter if it's the insurance industry itself or components of it. If you say it's going to take you 2 years, 3 years, for a professional, 2 years and 3 years is a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And especially considering what has happened in this past 2 years, it's really a lifetime. But if you can say to a person, look, you're working right now. This will take you roughly about a month, 3 months, and you got it. That's a lot more palatable for the person. And the person would say, okay, great. I'll do it. I'll do it, and then I'll see if the next thing is valuable to me, or I can pick and choose what the next thing is that's most valuable to me is. So I think it's great. It's great, and you kind of already touched with this whole thing about MII fellows and MII associates. That's how you set up, and Necole. So I want to go to Sashe for this next question. So what is that critical distinction that is being created on Necole between MII fellows, MII associates, and what they go through? And also, how is some of Necole's curated learning coming in to help the MII associates and the fellows? Keely said the Leadership 52 and the Technology 52.
Right. So we've got three different groups, if you want to call it. So the one group is for the more senior, more experienced folks. And so what we've done is we've given them leadership topics that are a little bit more relevant to them. So strategic topics, very business-oriented topics, leading people topics. So we've curated content around that for them, and they get that on a regular basis. Then the second group is kind of the more open group for everybody else, more wider audience. And then one we focus a lot more on self-leadership, right? Productivity, communication, EQ, things like that. Now, both groups get a very healthy dose of technology content. And our technology content is slightly different because we're not pushing technology content. That's our T52. That is about deep skilling for you to be a practitioner. We don't want you to be coding AI, for example, right? But you need to have a very solid foundational knowledge of AI so that you can talk about it, so that you can make decisions about it, so that you can understand how this is, changing your job role in your industry. So we've got content around that, and so we kind of give that to them. And then the third group, if you will, is for those who are actually, like Shalini said, going through a course. They signed up for a course, they're going through a certification, they're trying to get credits, there's assignments and things like that. So we're delivering that through Necole as well. So there's actually three groups. The first two groups are more self-directed, where we curate learning for them. And the third group is very guided, where they get something very regular. So it's nice to be able to do that. And then at the same time, the platform allows them to self-explore, to discover more, to get more personalized learning. So.
Right. And on that personalized learning, because we were now talking from a standpoint of the initiatives that MII is doing, the partnership with Necole, but you mentioned personalized learning. I actually wanted to ask you about that. So for the associates and fellows who are coming in, or anybody else who would come in to say, Necole, what is your advice for them when it comes to personalized learning? Like, how can you as an employee of a company get into that practice, and how can you use that practice to kind of future-proof yourself?
Yeah, I think it's $1 million question, right? How to develop a learning habit, right? So taking the course, it's the same question as like, how do you develop a gym habit, or how do you develop?
We should all ask Shalini how she does it. 150 hours a quarter.
Yeah, and I think a lot of discipline, right, and rigor. Yeah. That's got to be a good motivation. Like for Shalini, she says, "I'm going to walk the talk," right? So that's great motivation. So each individual, you need to find your own motivation, but you need to believe that learning is important, and you need to believe that you need to have a learning habit, right? And do whatever it takes to make sure that you believe that, and then after that, it's discipline. Whether it's your first 10 minutes in the morning, whether it's your last 10 minutes before you go to bed, it's like reading a book. It's equivalent, right? Find time for that in your day. Maybe it's during your lunch break, right? Step up, eat lunch while reading something. So that's that habit. And to make it easier, start by learning stuff that's relevant to you, whether it's relevant to your work or it's of interest to you, right? Yeah. Are you interested in what's going on in Bitcoin? I don't know. Go learn about that, right? So by starting with things that are relevant and interesting, you will develop a habit, and then you use that habit to now expand into other things that are going to be really useful to you.
Right. I kind of have a different view a little bit on that one, because if you start with things that are interesting to you, those are things that give you joy. But when you start a new habit, it's going against that wall of change that you have. So I advise this to some people out there. Think about, what would you lose? FOMO. Like, what would you not get if you never did this? Right. So example, like if you wanted to lose weight or you wanted to get fitter, think about what would happen to you if you never did this. That's usually when you're starting the habit. And when you start that habit and it gets more and more something that you just need to do every day, then you start going and exploring, like, hey, how about this? Hey, how about that? Hey, how about this? I think that's how I started my learning habit as well. Like, what would I do or what would happen to me if I didn't do this? And now I do have that habit where instead of whenever I have a break, I would not be watching Netflix or something like that. I would actually be either reading something or watching a video on some knowledge, something, anything at all that interests me. So
great
perhaps
advice.
someone could try that. Shalini, I got one comment here. It seems like you got a fan already right now.
Oh, really?
This
Oh
is
my God.
this is a comment
Okay.
from Eva Lim. So if we could bring that comment up. It's impressive to see how dedicated Shalini, the CEO of MII, whose schedule is overoccupied. Very
Oh my God. Is it my
occupied.
staff? I don't know.
And set her time aside for digital learning. Wow. Okay. So
I know,
Shalini,
but I'm a
yeah,
nerd at heart. I'm a nerd at heart. I'll
All
tell
right.
you that. If you look at my top 5 strengths, right? So a learner is one of it. And every chance I get, I enjoy it. I enjoy, look at the books that are behind me, right? So I enjoy it. So it's different if you enjoy doing it, right? But if you don't enjoy doing it, how do you now create that habit? And I think that's what Shashi was talking about, because that ability to learn is a power in itself. And if you look at secrets to successful leaders, the ability to learn always, be open to learning, open to change. I think it's something that everyone should really embrace.
It's not only a power; it is the superpower of today.
The superpower today. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll take that as the quote of the day. The superpower of the day is learning. So I think, you know what, pre-show, before we started the show, we were actually talking about how it looks like it's going to be 3 Indian people on the show, and why we are here, because we love talking. And look at it, it's already 45 minutes. I think that's true. So Shalini, this is going to be the last question for the show, and this is to you. So so this is a very broad question, right? What are your hopes? And you may have answered this a little bit, for the insurance industry, its practitioners, the industry itself, as we move into this more digitalized age? What is your hope for the industry?
I mean, even for MII and our team ourselves, I think it applies across the board. It's what we've gained during this period. Now we need to just build on those gains and expand transformation, accelerate all our efforts right now, to really use that everything that we've done to streamline, personalize experiences for more customers. And that's exactly what we're doing. During this period, we launched a virtual office, one click and you speak to a virtual customer service agent. We launched every different kind of customer service channel during this period. And before this, when you're trying to convince people, hey, try something new, it was very difficult, right? Everybody had to learn to do something new during this period. So I guess the dissent that you gets reduced a lot, because you're like, come on, you could do that. So build on that. And I think that's what we're looking at. And so everything that insurers do right now, from product portfolio, whether it's organizational models, whatever, marketing, sales, should be designed around deep insights, into what customers want, what customers need. And, this is about looking at whether it's the organizational architecture, but how everything around, meets the customer's needs and drive, again, at the end of the day, it needs to make business sense, right? How do you drive better outcomes for the organization itself? And processes, and that's what we're doing right now, should be digital by default. I think, right now, if somebody tells me I want to fill up a form or whatever, really seriously wake up. So it should be, we want agile operations, we want digital capabilities within the organization, and that can help, our industry players as well, to eliminate a lot of the frictional costs that they see at the touch points, across the touch points, and then that helps to meet customer expectations in terms of speed, in terms of personalization. And this is where we are committed to work with our insurers in order to, because like I mentioned, I think Satya Nadella said it during the World Economic Forum about how teaching people now to work with technology is key, and that's what we're committed towards, right? How do you have the right skill sets, as well as creating a data literate community of insurance professionals to embark on this journey, not just for this moment, but on an ongoing basis. And so that's what we're doing.
Right. I think something that's going to stick with me after this show is what you mentioned about it. The past 2 years was actually the best time to learn. And I think, like one of the key things that really stuck with me from this past 2 years is you can also learn anything.
And I think I read this book, right, about chaos and innovation. And one of the things they talk about in chaos, actually, that's when innovation thrives. Because in chaos, the deck gets reshuffled. You rechart in chaos. And that's what we did. And that's what, any smart organization would do. And that's what we see the industry doing right now.
Exactly. I think those who spend the time, either individuals or industries which spend the time doing that, are actually seeing the results of it right now. As
Correct.
things kind of open up, industries open up again, businesses are opening up again. Those who spend the time actually getting themselves ready are actually really primed at this point in time. So I think it's great that MII is doing this. It's great that there's this partnership with Necole as well. And I got to make sure that we kind of finish on time as well. So a quick shout out to everybody. If you want to know, because Shalini is a very busy person, Sashe is also a very busy person. So if you want to know what is actually going to be happening, all the initiatives that Shalini has mentioned, so check out MII. You can find them on LinkedIn, the Malaysian Insurance Institute, or just Google them and you'll find them.
Yes.
And you'll see all the initiatives that they're doing. I actually just dropped by their LinkedIn page today, and there's a lot of really good stuff on their LinkedIn page as well, including what they're doing with this partnership with Necole. And of course, Necole, if you want to check out what Necole's all about, you can find it on LinkedIn, you can find it on Facebook. And for organizations out there, for associations out there, if you feel that this could be a potential partnership that we could work on as well and kind of create this kind of an ecosystem, drop by Necole.tech and you can contact us from there. So I think that's the end of the show for now. I want to say a big thank you to Shalini and also Sashe for both coming on board and both sharing your thoughts and actually giving us this illumination of this partnership between MII and Necole. And of course, Shalini, thanks for the education on the insurance professionals industry. I actually got a good education from that.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad at least we have one convert, Sashe. I hope you're already converted.
Of course.
So yes, thank you,
Thanks.
Nigesh. Thank you, Sashe. Yes.
All right.
Thank you both.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much. Well, our viewers out there, actually, thank you so much for joining us for the show. We're going into the weekend. As always, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. Things are open, but still stay safe. Follow the SOPs and have a great, wonderful weekend. This is Tech Talk Friday. Take care, everybody.
Bye.